pride of Orange, the audacity, the nerve, the sheer balls that this series has to come here into my house and act all innocent, being like, oh, we're just a cute little slice of life series about girls who want to play hockey. Which, in fairness, by itself is fine. I was ecstatic with that, by the way. A hockey anime? My patriotic Canadian side is loving that we finally get a hockey anime to represent what is our national winter sport here in my home country. But then the show starts up and it's all like, oh yeah, our newbie team of young girls would totally win against your national Canadian team at the World Hockey Championships. Bruh. Do you know what this is like? This is like if we said, oh, we Canadians are best at kendo 'cause reasons. Screw your championships of shogi, I'm Canadian, I can totally do that. Karate? Don't even know the language. Doesn't matter. I got the best memory right here 'cause I'm Canadian. Do you see? Can you understand how ludicrous this is? I think maybe I'm not getting this across. Maybe I am just, me with my own opinions that just happen to be a little out there right now. Okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make sure that I'm just not making this up on my own, right? And we're gonna call a friend, okay? Yeah, we're just gonna call a friend.
Moshi, you've reached the office of Mother's Basement. How can I help you?
Hi, Jeff, it's Tristan. I'm looking for an opinion as a Canadian.
Canadian opinions? Sure, I've got a kilogram of those.
What do you know about Pride of Orange?
Pride of Orange? Pride of Orange. Let me tell you about Pride of Orange. All I gotta say about Pride of Orange is there ain't no way some namby-pamby hoser idols who were a knitting club like a week ago are gonna beat Team fucking Canada at hockey, bud. It ain't happening, eh? I am furious at that show. I cannot stand it. I also can't think of anything else to add to this rant, so please cut me off at any point, Tristan. I'd really appreciate it. I'm floundering here, just absolutely drowning. I can't go on. Somebody stop.
All right, so you get our point. It's not as good as it used to be. Shit, I didn't even get to the idol bit. There's an idol bit. So I'm gonna try and not make this be a rant, because, it is still hockey, and it is still hockey and anime, and I'd like that to still be a thing, if not magically by the end of this series, then in some other series. So I'm not gonna go at it too hard, but at the same time, though, we're not gonna hold back too much. All right, so what is this show basically about? Well, in very traditional slice of life style, alongside sports, we got a group of young girls who, for one reason or another, decide that they really want to play hockey. So, despite the fact that they don't actually know all that much about hockey, they suit up their skates, get on the ice, and go pass a puck around. I think in order to properly get out my frustrations with it, I should maybe start where my expectations were. See, I've watched a reasonable amount of sports anime over the years, tackling a variety of different types of games. I've seen traditional sports animes on basketball, on volleyball, on baseball. There's a lot of baseball, but that makes sense because Japan really likes baseball, and that's fair enough. I've also watched sports anime on more Japanese-specific things, like kendo, like shogi, like karuta, of all things. And the thing that I love about these shows in particular, especially when it's a sport that I've never played and would possibly have never heard about otherwise, because it's a very Japanese thing, is that these shows are very good at still making great stories and showcasing great characters, even if I can't get invested in the game that they're playing. They all have different ways to explain what these sports and games are about, and in some cases are extremely good at getting you invested in these games when you have no idea what is going on. It's that level of high energy. So when it came to this show, I was expecting, with my knowledge of hockey, a very high energy sport, by the by, that even if they weren't able to make people into hockey fans, which is fair enough, they could still get us excited about the act of playing the game through these characters. And well, we're 4 episodes in now, and that hasn't happened. One of my major problems with Pride of Orange at this exact moment is that I have yet to see a reason as to why it needed, or for this show, it needed to be hockey. See, I've joked in the past about slice of life shows taking a particular quirk, and it's like, oh, well, it's all of the same as every other slice of life show, but there's this quirk, see? And I feel like that can be applied here in not a good way. The quirk, of course, being hockey. But where I'm having a problem is that you could swap that out for a variety of other things, and by and large, the show would remain the same. It doesn't have to be hockey. It could be any other named sport. The girls in it could be just as interested in playing baseball as they could be in playing hockey. The coach of the team who's running the tryouts for them could have been just as invested in a baseball team as she is in trying to work with this hockey team. I have yet to see the reason why it needs to be hockey. And that's a problem when you're trying to sell me on a hockey anime. The show, as of yet, is also missing kind of the key infection point. See, if you're trying to get someone interested in a sport or a game, it usually helps to start with a character who is already super invested in said sport or game. We use the game as a way to learn more about them because it potentially is such a massive part of their life. But that infection point doesn't exist here in Pride of Orange. In fact, the vast majority of the players in this show, the characters who will eventually make up that sports team that beat Canada in hockey, have never played hockey prior to the start of this story. They know how to skate, at least, but like even that's a thing. I'm like, hockey has that extra element to it where you're not just learning how to pass a puck around, which is a skill. You're learning also just how to skate. They didn't even come from something like adjacent to that. They weren't figure skaters. They weren't rollerbladers. They were part of the embroidery club. I have nothing against embroidery, nothing at all. It's a wonderful skill. Some people should definitely pick it up because it's a nice, relaxing hobby. But how does that translate into hockey? Even the main character, she just like sees a flyer for hockey and thinks to herself, that could be fun, which again, didn't have to be hockey. I wonder if they even care about the sport. And that's kind of really cramping my enjoyment here. I was at least hopeful though that they would try to, get the characters interested and invested in the sport itself. Maybe that would be its infection point because, hey, if we can convince these characters who are just like, hockey? Okay, I guess, into, being like, we like hockey, then perfect. But the way that the show teaches hockey is a little bit ham-fisted. It's mostly tell and not show. The main character has a literal trivia game with their sibling about the rules of this game that she awkwardly doesn't do all that well at. This is not to say that other shows have done explanations of their respective sports amazingly. March Comes In Like a Lion, for example, has entire sections dedicated to teaching characters and the audience the basics of shogi with a fictitious cat kingdom, up until, the point where they realize that you don't really need to understand the game to appreciate the meat of this story that they're trying to tell, and they just kind of, gave up on seriously trying to educate anyone in shogi beyond the basics, which is a smart move, in all honesty, for that show. Here though, considering that the hockey portions are more than likely the most expensive to animate, I can see the cost-effective nature of turning the explanations of the game into just, plain bare bones dialogue scenes between characters. However, I, as a viewer and occasional patriotic hockey fan, did not find these scenes to be all that engaging and wished that they had instead, done maybe a far more in medias res, like Robert Speedwagon-esque explanation of the plays and game rules during the games themselves. At 4 episodes in, we have barely even played hockey. We saw that one intro scene that looked like it's from the future. Let's cut that out for a second. And really all we have is the characters kind of just occasionally moving around the ice a bit, and one game which takes up barely any time of the actual episode in which it's there. It's like they're trying to avoid actually showing us the... They're trying to avoid showing us playing hockey in a hockey anime. Now, okay, you may be wondering, besides my outbursts, why this video took so long to come out. Like, we're already 4 episodes in. Surely I could have done this reaction a little bit sooner. Well, let me tell you, it certainly was not because while working on this video, I was knee-deep in house hunting that required me to spend several days driving long distances to view a stranger's home who would later choose not to pick, you know, my family as the future owners of said home instead of, you know, who I assume to be a downsizing boomer with considerably more cash flow or enterprising mega corporation bent on massive ownership of my local real estate market. No, it took this long because I was waiting for the eventual arrival of the show's 6th Ranger. In team-based sports anime, there is a common habit to steal this one particular trope from tokusatsu narratives, a habit I have nicknamed from tokusatsu's North American equivalent, the Power Rangers. It's a moment a little ways into the story where an additional team member of usually exceptional ability joins the main cast. The 6th Ranger, in this case, an ace hockey player by the name of Yu, was teased surprisingly early enough that I started to believe she would come in far, you know, earlier than usual and be the actual driving force behind much of what I absolutely wanted from this narrative. But I was mistaken. In fact, though I thought she would make an appearance in episode 4, which she technically does, the show, as of yet, has avoided what I assume to be her eventual meeting with the rest of the cast. That still hasn't happened. They're dragging it out. I had high hopes that she would get a quick introduction and then take that spot as the character who honestly and truly loves the sport enough to just vicariously infect the audience into loving the sport as much as they do. But this was not to be. At least, not by episode 4. This girl, Yu, is an ace hockey player who has quit hockey because she can't act like a teammate, which, you know, since it's a team-based sport, this is going to be interesting. She's not going to be the one that infects the audience because she's already pretty stuck up, and we need to get her out of that before... She doesn't fit the role that I want her to fit. She can fit a different role entirely, and that can still work perfectly fine. But that means that the role of actually convincing the audience that hockey is a pretty fun sport actually is vacant. And maybe this is just the patriotic part of me, you know? But I was really hoping for a Canadian character because, you know, there's precedent for that. In fact, I could name 2 sports anime that are either directly or tangentially related to hockey in some way that have had Canadian characters quite prominently. When anime decided to put figure skating front and center, we have JJ, the god of JJ style, the obnoxious prick who we learned to love. Helps that he was voiced by Mamoru Miyano. Just saying. And even as recent as this year, there was Skate, who has a Canadian character as one of the 2 main characters tangentially brought in because he was really good at snowboarding, which I know we also do like snowboarding up here in Canada, especially when you go a little further north up to, you know, the places that have the snow. Where I am here, we're still technically like, there are places in the United States that are further north than I am right now. But still, I can see where they were going with that. And you know, that's cool. You brought in a Canadian for something winter sport related. Good on you. Why did they not do that for hockey? I suppose maybe they could still. Maybe this Yu character isn't the real 6th Ranger and she was supposed to be part of the main cast the whole time for some reason, and we'll get a Canadian character later. But I really doubt it. I don't think the show cares enough, honestly. And that's the thing. I don't think the show cares. So it's making me wonder why the hell I care so much right now. Maybe it's just like, I thought I had low expectations. And maybe that's the problem, because I thought my expectations were pretty low, and then they proved me wrong on how low they probably should have been. After 4 episodes, I don't really know who these characters are. They're still kind of largely very tropey in the type of personalities that they have and their relationships, even with one another. All of them, barring the main girl and now incoming ace hockey player have not really given me a reason to show why they themselves like the sport or even care about it, other than the fact that, hey, their good friend really wants to do this, and yeah, we're not doing all that much anyway, so yeah, sure, let's go play hockey. In the 4th episode, they even just did this thing of, yeah, hey, you're still tryout girls, right? But you're doing this tryout for a hockey sports team that already has a lineup of girls on the team. They're just kind of there now. Are they gonna get screen time? Are you gonna try and explain why these new tryout girls are gonna be on the ice over their senpai? How's that gonna go? If I had to point out a positive, right, it would be that when we actually do get hockey moments, they do look really good, and I'm happy that those exist. I just wish there were more of them. And that's probably just a budgetary thing, which is depressing, kind of. I'm tired. I had so high hopes. I had high hopes but low expectations. At least what I thought. Maybe I'm wrong and I'm just saying that I have low expectations after the fact, when really I had pretty high expectations for what is essentially the first hockey anime that I know of. There are plenty of hockey manga that filled up, shonen-like magazines in Japan, but never got to the level of popularity probably needed for a proper anime adaptation. And then there's the idol stuff. Ugh, Jeff mentioned the idol stuff, and I completely forgot it, because it's like, if you didn't watch the OP, you wouldn't know what they're trying to do with that yet, and honestly, I don't even know what they're trying to do with that yet either. As part of their warm-up in their like tryouts, the coach had them do a dance routine, and even the characters didn't know what that had to do with skating, and I agree with them. I don't know what that had to do with skating either. The whole idol aspect thing seems extremely shoehorned in, but, hey, after Uma Musume, like, you can't really blame them. And I distinctly remember back when that show came out wondering what the hell being an idol had to do with horse racing, but, turn it into a gacha game, I guess, and anything's possible. So, I'm probably still going to subject myself to this on a weekly basis. I don't know if I'm going to be, hate watching it at this point, but that's what it feels like. It's not hate watching, I think, because, I don't hate it. I just don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it, but I feel like this weird patriotic duty to continue watching, to continue experiencing this, and see where it goes. Maybe in a month and a half, 2 months from now, I'll come back and I'll be like, title of video, I was wrong again. Oh yeah, you remember that last time I was wrong? Well, it happened again, because, I'm actually wrong on a fairly regular basis. And again, I feel like I'm doing that out of some sort of patriotic duty, when honestly, I should not be using this if I wanted to do patriotic duty that much, because, it's not good coffee. It hasn't been good coffee in a while. But it's the stereotype, right? This whole thing is the stereotype. The whole reason I give a shit is the stereotype. Am I a big, massive hockey fan? I will be, when the Leafs are in the freaking cup again. Because I'm not going to be one of those people who is just like, no, I was never a fan of the Leafs until, the Leafs get in the cup. And then suddenly, oh yeah, I've always been a Leaf fan. No, I've been a Leaf fan since I was freaking born. I know they're a shit team. Doesn't matter. Hope they get better. That's the whole point. So then when they do get to the cup, I can legitimately sit there and say that I've been a fan of them the whole time. I don't know why I'm sidetracking. This has gone on too long. We're just going to end this here. So thank you for watching whatever the hell this was. If you're interested in watching Pride of Orange just to see what I have seen, it's available over on Funimation's website and related streaming apps that they have. Go do that. A very special thank you to all of my patrons, whose names will be showcased here to the side of my face. Thanks to you, I am able to continue to rant about poor hockey anime. You have paid for my coffee. Thank you. I need it. Seriously. Thank you to my good friend Jeff Thu over on the YouTube channel Mother's Basement for coming in here and doing a quick cameo and showcasing that, yeah, I'm not the only Canadian who thinks like this. Thank God. And of course, a very special thank you to patrons Ryfin Bonaparte, Omar Showman, Wago221, Hector Montemayor, Sergeant Nemo 1, and City Yamako for being especially awesome. And until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, watch more anime, just maybe not this, and stay frosty.